Boom, boom, boom. Right there, sugar.
There it is.
Episode 28, Future Motocross Radio, presented by our good friends at Fox Racing and Get Data. We've had a great relationship with Fox for a long time. The good friends over there, Mr. Austin Hoover, Kenny Day, Matt Moore, those guys taking care of us for a long time. We got a special guest in the studio with us.
We do.
Mr. Kory Keylon.
I saw him in Nashville.
Yeah?
Did you? Once or twice?
Well, yeah.
Kory Keylon, a nice Florida native here to us in Central Florida, and grew up racing Florida locally, racing nationally, went all over the country. You know, we had got some stories we might be able to tell about some of that stuff.
Just a few, one or two.
But we were able to do that. I mean, I think you were a Fox athlete too at that time.
I was for 15 years or so.
Yeah, I'd say that was a little bit, huh?
Yeah, a couple years.
You didn't get that lifetime deal?
No.
Damn it.
Maybe. I could probably call somebody if I needed to.
Well, good friends at Fox, you know, they take care of us. They're helping us out. You know, we run the V3 helmet. We've got the Flex Air, the 360, the 180, and the gear sets. So I can't say enough about all the good people at Fox with how well they have treated us. I mean, when we flew out there to the Anaheim 2 and got the tour of the place, I mean, just unbelievable facility. So anybody that's looking for racewear, obviously you can see the Fox helmet sitting here on the table if you're watching on YouTube. But if you're looking for some new gear, man, make sure you go check out the Fox stuff.
You know what's funny about Fox is they took care of me so much back in the day that I have enough T-shirts to last me the rest of my life.
Well, that's because they're good people.
Yeah,
and,
100%.
You know, once you're in with that Fox stuff, man, the comfort of it, the fitment of it, everything with it is so good that we enjoy it right now. And all of our guys on the Future MX Racing team side, they wear Fox, and I can't say enough about how great they've been to us and how well it's worked for us to have that relationship with them. But either way, Mr. Kory Keylon with us in the studio, episode 28. We've had quite a bit of stuff happening since our last episode. Episode 27 was with Mr. Benny Bloss. Unfortunate to see what happened with him in Nashville, but speaking of Nashville, all three of us, Kory, Sugar, myself, we all went up there. Our wives got to go and had a fun time. It's one of my favorite cities, and I think the Supercross finale should be in Nashville every year. Yeah, because I think it's one of the coolest places to go. It's
definitely nice having the day race to where everybody can go hang out afterwards. Also makes it nice, you know.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm ever going back.
Okay.
I'm telling you, man, I was drinking like I was like 19 up there. I paid the price actually Monday morning when I went to work. I was like, man, I'm still feeling Nashville.
I think everybody felt Nashville on Monday.
But we definitely had a great time. I mean, between the racing and the city, man, you can't beat it.
No, I mean, there were so many cool events and some of the stuff that we'll get into and talk about. You know, we got to spend a lot of time at Gibson. I know for you, Sugar Shane, playing guitars and being a musician, and myself with my little Gibson collection myself, that we really enjoyed that, going with Hunter on Friday before Nashville started to be able to go out there and see, you know, his event that was held at Gibson. That was really cool. And
I mean, Dan got us in, and it was so crowded and so cool. Like, obviously, there was a lot of people there to see Hunter. I didn't even say one word to Hunter, but anyway.
He was a little tied up.
I literally got... Sorry, I'm choking up. Just kidding. When I went in there, I literally felt like I felt when I walked into Toys R Us as a kid the first time. Yeah. I was like, man, this is freaking amazing. Yeah. Like, that's truly probably the most badass stuff to me. Yeah. At my age, you know, and what I'm into. Like, what a cool city to be able to like go to something like that and experience that. It's freaking awesome.
No, that was a very cool event for them, and seeing that collaboration between Alpine Stars, Honda, and Gibson, that to me is one of the coolest collaborations I've seen in the sport in a long time. Yeah. I mean, when you bring such an iconic brand like Gibson and music that ties in, which obviously our passion with music, you know, that was really cool. I mean, that custom gear set that Alpine Stars had for that weekend with the Gibson font, you know, on Hunter's jersey. And then obviously in Nashville, Hunter goes out and wins the West, you know, what was the East Coast champ. You know, that the whole weekend I think was kind of a perfect scenario for that collaboration, the gear set, the championship. I mean, it fits so well.
I'm not gonna lie. I got home from Nashville and working on 3 different Tool songs, and I've always been into Tool since the '90s. I even told the guy that runs
Gibson,
Caesar, that runs Gibson now.
Yep.
That I've always been into Tool, and he's like, "Oh man, so have I," And so like I came home and like I'm like currently working on 3 Tool songs.
Yeah.
Like it just brought me kind of back.
It amped you up.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Not to mention that, we purchased a few things from Gibson while we were there, had them shipped back.
I did not pull the trigger.
Well, I mean,
I will.
Between guitars and merch, we purchased.
Yeah.
Didn't you buy something and then lose the bag somewhere?
Oh yeah, so I double bought everything. So
that just shows how much of a supporter we are.
Yeah, well, no, they were kind enough to give us a discount, right? And so, we picked out some things, and then it got left at a bar.
The first bar
we went to when we left Gibson, and so I literally had to go back there
the next day,
buy all the same stuff again. So really, I didn't get a discount. So whatever, I double bought everything.
Well, I think the Gibson collab was extremely cool. I actually talked to Hunter about it yesterday when we were out at the compound or dog pound, and I just feel like that collaboration is one of the coolest ones I've seen.
Yeah.
But Benny had a pretty cool, gear set. He talked about having that custom setup for Nashville, and I got to look at it, went in the hauler and looked at the helmet when we were in Nashville, and he had a pretty good setup as well. But what a bummer for Benny. We had our little bet on the last episode. So anybody that listened to the last episode, we had our little bet on there, and unfortunately, he went down in his first. I think it was first lap, right? It was two turns in or 3 turns in.
That rhythm after the
second turn, yeah.
Second turn or first turn, actually.
First turn. It was the first.
And
it was that first rhythm, I think, right after the start.
Yeah, it's kind of like you had that sweeping turn around the bowl, and then you had that hard right into the rhythm.
Yeah.
So
I honestly didn't even catch the crash. Like we were sitting almost right by it, and
I yelled at you. I was like, "That was Benny."
We couldn't see exactly who was down on the ground between the dirt and the side of the stadium, and sure enough, it was Benny. And I was like, "Man, what a bummer."
You couldn't see your hand in front of your face anyway.
Well, I had a hot dog in my mouth. I ain't gonna lie, I did have a hot dog and a beer in my mouth. I felt like normally I wasn't a fan back in the day, so like I take advantage of all the fan stuff, hot dogs,
nachos.
Beers. Yeah, like I missed the whole crash, which good because I don't like to see guys get hurt,
Yeah, well, that was a bummer because having Benny on the episode, that was really, really awesome of him to come in here to the Legends Room and be on here. But we had our little wager, and I was fully ready to take part in ours. You
say that now.
The shoey out of the boot.
Oh, the shoe in the boot thing had me nervous.
But it is a bummer to see him go down. So I mean, that was definitely down. But hey, how about a positive? The episode before Benny, we had Garrett Hoffman on, and Garrett makes his first main event of the year.
Was it us?
It probably was.
Like giving a little bit of motivation.
It probably was.
His first podcast, right? It was his first podcast. And
he's getting all this
amped up. Yeah,
getting all this exposure, and now he's got to go out there and perform. And I stopped by the truck. He's got his motorhome there, and I went by there probably 3 or 4 times, and every time, and he was like, "I'm doing this for you and Sugar." That's his exact words, and I actually have it in writing. He texted it to me when we were talking about it.
See?
And he said, "I'm doing this for you and Sugar."
How come you're just not telling me this?
I mean, sometimes I got to unveil stuff on the show, man.
That's badass. It's good.
Yeah, and he did it. He went out there and got a main event. So great job to Garrett Hoffman, the 242 Yamaha. Good for him. The Gibson collab, the Hunter Championship, Nashville's all going good. The downfall, Benny's hurt, and then the big one, Coop.
Yeah, I mean that's unfortunate. It's just,
It was scary though, man. The way his head hit and that.
And even to look at it from Adam's perspective too, you got to feel bad.
Like, absolutely.
When you hurt somebody like that, you feel terrible about it, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's racing. He fell into the rut, and Adam was in it. There's nothing you can do about it.
No doubt. But you see him stand up and then almost immediately fall over, and you don't know what's going on. He gets carted off, and here's the guy second in the championship at the time in Nashville. And he takes a blow like that to his head, and you worry about a peg to the neck or a neck injury or pulling that spinal cord with the way it hit in the bottom of his helmet. So I think everybody was thinking the worst, and we're all immediately start texting and, how do we help? What do we do? And there's not a whole lot you can do in that situation, but extremely unfortunate to see Coop go out of the championship there in Nashville. And
it's hard to take Coop out. He's a tough SOB.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. So that was a bummer to see. So, I mean, you take the highs and the lows. And, I mean, I think that's kind of common in this sport, right? I mean, Kory, you've done it for so long that there's a high and a low in everything that we do. And you see the highs of, Hunter getting his first championship win and such a cool collaboration there between Alpine Star and Gibson, that, the highs of that, and Garrett Hoffman making his main. And then you get the lows where, Benny, I think, broke his collarbone, and then Coop went out, and then Barsha went out on the Dragon's Back, which was, I almost called it. I was sitting next to Anna in practice, and I said, watch that Dragon's Back tonight. I said, that thing is going to get somebody.
I saw a lot of guys dipping their front end off the top of that thing, and I was like, especially, I think it was in the heat races, and I was like, I kept hitting Natalie, and I was like, check that thing out. Like, everybody kept...
And in practice, there was a couple people that went down in practice, but it wasn't. Nobody went down really hard in practice over it. And I kept saying to Ann, I'm like, somebody is going to eat it on that thing.
Yep. And you talk about the highs and the lows. I watched Barsha's Instagram video he just posted the other day, and that was one thing he touched on is that it's motocross. You have the highs and the lows, and look at him. He was doing great this season. He's talking about how he felt better than he ever has mentally, physically.
Yeah.
He's happy with all his results. And then, just one little mistake like that, and it takes you out. I mean, he broke his collarbone, his shoulder, and 2 ribs. I mean, got him pretty good.
Everybody at the compound last year, the top track had a Dragon's Back. And you don't see that very often.
Yeah.
And even baby boy, little Aiden had to learn on that Dragon's Back, and I think they throw him into the tracks every now and then, and I really think that people should honestly consider building a Dragon's Back, because they get wore out, they get nasty, they normally go into a double or an on-off or whatever, and you don't see that much on these practice tracks you see on Instagram and stuff, and it's definitely a very good training tool.
It is, but at the same time, it's also the factor of getting hurt on them.
Yeah, the risk.
It's the risk
of having one
practicing that every day, all day. Is just you're taking that extra risk.
Absolutely.
I mean, to have one somewhere to practice isn't a bad idea, but to have it to where you got to ride it every day.
It depends on who's maintaining it too. I mean, I had to actually maintain that thing a lot, and nobody ever got hurt. It was always safe. But depends. It could get nasty, and we saw in Nashville, obviously, that thing can get nasty.
Well, you move on from Nashville after, taking out, I think Anderson got hurt in Nashville, Barsha got hurt in Nashville, Benny got hurt in Nashville, Coop obviously with a big one there. So then you go on to Denver. In Denver, we're all thinking the championship's pretty much wrapped up after Nashville. When Coop goes out, the immediate thought is, okay, well now Eli has it in the bag. That's what I thought.
Maybe.
Because the closest person to him was Coop,
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, well, if the closest guy to him is Coop, and Coop's still, however many points back he was.
You're right, because of the 22nd or the 20th place. I get it.
So I'm thinking, okay, well now Eli just wrapped this up. Congrats to Star Yamaha for their championship, and then you show up in Denver, and then what a fluke. It wasn't.
You never even see that though. That injury, you're like, never even crosses your mind. Then you see it, and you're like, oof. Yeah. And that's one of those that's.
But it wasn't. It didn't seem like there was anything drastic. Like it wasn't like he framed something, or it wasn't like he flat landed something. He I would say barely over jumped that.
I don't even think he over jumped it. It was just the pressure of it, because you just watch his heels dip, and as soon as his heel dip, you watch it. You could almost see it.
Yeah, when it was all the way at the bottom, and then he lifted his foot up immediately.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there in shock.
I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest Eli fan. The dude's gnarly. I get it. But to see that with the points leader, and then all of a sudden the rubber band snaps, and you're just like, what in the hell just happened?
Yeah. The guy's had the number 1 red plate. He's been number 1 all year, but he's had the red plate for a while, and he's been very consistent, most wins this season. And you think about Eli, he's just kind of like one of those, I don't really consider him the Terminator because he's not very aggressive, but it's just he just chugs along like maybe the Energizer Bunny. Like he's always there,
Yep.
you know,
It's like an old train, you know. He just keeps on trucking.
Especially the second half of the race.
And you hardly ever see him injured. I mean, that's one thing I think about in his career. Like there's never, you know, I'm sure there has been, and I can't say never, but he's usually always there. He puts in the race, he puts in the effort, and everything's there. So to see him go down and holding his foot like that and immediately come off the track, not stop anywhere, but drive straight to...
Oh, he knew exactly what happened.
Yeah, it was so sad to see in my mind because I'm sitting there.
Terrible.
But then at the same time, and I mean, Kory, you got to think about this as a racer too. Think about what happens when Coop is sitting there watching that race on TV.
Yeah.
And he sees Eli go down. And he was the next guy, you know, a week before in Nashville. So you gotta think that Coop in his mind mentally is just like
even more bummed because he knew he pretty much would have had that thing wrapped up.
Yeah. No. So and then in the end, you know, Tomac's out, Chase wins the race, and because of the points gap right now, Chase wins the title.
Yep.
So think about that. Just Honda alone. They've now won both East and West in the lights. And then they've got the 450 that they just locked up. So they've won 3 out of 3 Supercross titles in 2023. I
was thinking about that the other day. You know, Lars is a friend of mine, and we worked a lot of years together. Whatever. I'm like, that guy is probably smiling ear to ear, taking over management at Honda and winning all 3, you know, titles in Supercross. And it's like, the guy's looking like a golden boy right now.
Yeah. Well, and again, we talk about the highs and the lows. So the low of Denver, you know, obviously Eli going out kind of takes some of the, I don't want to call it excitement out of it, but you know, and I definitely don't want to put an asterisk on the title. And Tyler and I talked about this before we started talking. You know, Chase had to be there and has to be in a position all season long, even with crashing a few times and being out of it. You still have to be there if something like this happens. So it's not like it was handed to Chase, but in a sense, it was.
If it was me, if I was Chase personally, how I feel about things, like it would always be in the back of my mind.
Yeah,
because 100%. I didn't really win it straight up against everybody.
I get that.
You didn't win it against 2 other guys that were, you know, battling all season long. You didn't earn it.
Yeah, like on the podium, I felt like he had the look in his face like somebody pissed on his Cheerios a little bit. Like he was happy and won the race, this and that, but he was visibly bummed about Eli.
Yeah, which I respect.
You know, yeah,
I don't think a big celebration after the race would have been right.
Would have been correct. No,
yeah,
no, sir.
So you know, do the big celebration this weekend, you know, in Salt Lake or whatever. But I agree. But at the same time, Chase put himself in that position to be the guy to be the next one.
He's been there every weekend on speed. You know,
he has been the fastest guy. When you look at fast laps, he has more fast lap time qualifying than anybody else in the field.
He just makes too many mistakes.
Right, and those mistakes have cost him.
Yep.
And you get somebody, a seasoned vet like Eli and Coop, that they will take a 4th on a night that they're not feeling it. Yeah. And Chase still tries to go for a win, and he ends up going down.
But you can think of it the other way, too. You know, like maybe in mid-season, beginning of the season, they were struggling with the front end of that bike. And maybe it wasn't Chase making mistakes. And maybe they were struggling. People have struggles with bikes, and they're always searching for bigger and better. So, you know, Chase is obviously... he's fast and he's there, so he deserves it. But like, I just feel like nobody wants to win a championship like that. You know,
I agree.
It's gonna be in the back of his mind a little bit.
When you talk about bike setup, you know, you look at Roxon from where they were at the beginning of the season to now with their bike. You know, I mean,
but dude worked his ass off testing until 9 o'clock at night and for however many weeks, and they're racers, man. They want to be comfortable and they want to win. You know.
But you take the lows from Denver, you know, Eli going out, but then you take the positives. Our boy RJ Hampshire ends up winning the race.
God, in good fashion too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, was on it. Yeah. Caught kitchen, fell, caught kitchen again, won the race.
I thought it was over, and then I'm like, dude, here he comes again.
Yeah, like, he was on it.
On it that weekend.
So huge props to RJ Hampshire, and you know, winning that race. That's his 2nd Supercross overall win. And then at the same time, Jet wins his 4th championship in a row.
Yep.
So like we talked about, even in Nashville, you got highs and lows. In Denver, you got highs and lows. So Eli going out's a low, but then you got RJ winning the race, and then Jet winning the championship. You know,
there's a high and low every weekend.
Yeah. Well, and then, you know, now Chase ends up winning the 450 title. So you have Honda getting 3 out of 3. I am curious how this outdoor picture is going to look. So you've got Jet is now moving to a 450 in outdoors. So you're going to have Chase and Jet on a Honda 450 in outdoors. And then you're going to have Hunter on a 250 outdoors. You think there's a chance that Honda goes 5 for 5?
It's a possibility for sure.
I think it's a good possibility.
I really haven't thought about it.
You think about Hunter on a 450?
Well, Jet's going to be on the 450.
Sorry.
So Jet will be on the 450. Hunter will be on the 250. But when you have Chase and Jet on 450s, that's a pretty strong field because you know the remainder of the field right now with Barsha being injured, Coop out, Eli's out. I think Ferrandis is back in for outdoors. But when you look at the field overall, Honda's got a pretty good chance in the 450 between Chase and Jet, and then they've got a pretty good chance in the 250 with Hunter.
Is Malcolm coming back for outdoors?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I
don't think so.
Because
I think that surgery's a little too fresh.
But at the beginning of the season, he was supposed to ride outdoors this year because he usually doesn't ride outdoors.
Yeah.
And I think this year he was planning on riding outdoors at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't think he's gonna make the first round, and he's so out of race pace.
Oh yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Well, and they've talked about it on the episodes. You know, watching the races quite a bit. That Honda, you know, their last Premier Class win or title championship was when RC was there. I think back in 04.
Yeah.
So they break the streak of the Premier Class
the year
of getting
I started,
the title.
04.
And then, you know, now they've had such a dominant Supercross season between both Lights titles and the Premier Class Supercross title. Does that continue in outdoors? I think for me, that's one of the biggest storylines of outdoors.
I just hope it's not a blowout, man. To be honest with you, when you think about it.
Well, you got your 450 MX champ Ferrandis returning. So he's coming back. He chose not to come back for Supercross, just to focus on outdoors. So I think he's going to be a threat on the Star Yamaha. I mean, he's good. He's good outdoors.
Ferrandis is a pick of mine if there was an outdoor fantasy for sure. But the guy's phenomenal in outdoors. I just hope it's not a blowout to where like it's 2 guys or 3 guys, and then it's like everybody else is just kind of trailing in the wind, you know, like
you want to see some good racing.
Yeah, I want to see just like Supercross this year to mid-season. I mean, dude, look how many different winners there were.
Yeah,
you know, and I want to see a lot of guys up there, and I think there's guys out there that are capable of doing it. You know, I don't want it to end up in a blowout, man.
Well, we'll see how that goes. I mean, we can't predict the future. So, wrapping up, Supercross is essentially done now. The champs are all crowned.
I got a what if.
What?
You know, what if things happen to the Honda boys or whatever, and then you crown like Kyle Chisholm as outdoor championship? That would be awesome. Like I'm just saying, things can happen.
Well, and that was one of my thoughts when I started looking at the point standings and everything when Eli started going off, because immediately I'm like, well, how's this going to work out? And I'm sitting there in my mind, I'm like, could you imagine? Here's my what if Kenny Roczen on that Hep Suzuki.
He ain't racing though.
No, if he would have won that Supercross title, like if something happened to Chase also, like that did to Eli and Coop, and Kenny ends up winning that on the Suzuki, would that not be huge for that team?
Well, yeah, and he's going to carry on that Kickstart name for freaking forever. Can you believe Kickstart Kenny won in 2023? Like, oh my God.
Yeah, but you know, you look at this season, anything can happen. I mean, even in Denver, the amount of people that had career best finishes because there was a dilapidated field. I mean, you know, it's you don't want to say it like that, but it's the truth. I mean, McElrath, I think Justin Hill, Kyle Chisholm, I mean, these guys putting in a career best finish overall because, you know, the field is gone.
I believe that I'm gonna see AC a lot on the podium in the outdoors.
I hope so.
I hope so. I hope he can get it together.
He's getting his confidence. Yeah, he's getting his confidence back.
I hope so.
And I believe that he may be there with those guys for sure.
Yeah. Well, we'll stop there talking about Supercross. Obviously, we'll get to watch Outdoors as it comes up, but congrats to Honda.
What channel?
What?
Outdoors?
Oh, we'll have to figure out the app.
We got to figure out the dang...
We got to figure out what app it's on.
What app and what channel, and One Moto's on one channel. Sorry, I'm not talking crap, but I'm just saying, like, TV channel, the TV package normally sucks.
Well, with Supercross being wrapped up, congrats to Honda, your buddy Lars. Good for them. For us, seeing Jet and Hunter win it's very cool because of us being out at the dog pound and our relationship with them. So congrats to all of them. As far as Outdoors goes, we'll get to watch it on whatever app is available. I want to take a second real quick and say a huge thank you to Get, Mr. Dan Truman, Athena USA. We run the Get ECUs, the RPM indicator, the Get battery. I know, Kory, you have a Get battery in your 450.
I do.
So a huge thank you to Dan Truman, Get, Athena. They have a ton of items on their website, so you can go straight to their website and check all those items out. Athena has so many products that I didn't even realize that they offered. But, again, can't say thank you to them enough with Get, and then also Fox Racing, like we mentioned at the beginning of the show. So let's go from there, and let's go into Mr. Kory Keylon here a little bit.
Yeah.
We got a guest in the studio. Grew up right here in Central Florida, raced all of our local tracks here to us, also raced nationally, which we've got some stories about going racing nationally. But, Kory, tell me, I know the story because you and I have been together. Matter of fact, Tyler Costa, don't we have a picture? We talked about it right there for just a second, but I don't think we actually pulled it up. We got a picture of us. I don't even know how old we would have been at this time. So anybody that's watching the episode on YouTube can see this. So we have, I'll send it over to you, Shane.
Oh, I got it.
So,
you seen it?
Yeah.
So all the way to the right is your older brother, Kyle Keylon.
Yep.
And then I'm standing right next to him there. I believe that's a Trent Dilfer Bucks jersey, because it definitely wouldn't have been Tom Brady at that time, because that's probably 25 years ago.
Yeah, I saw the picture last weekend in Nashville, and I was like, yeah, you got a Tom Brady T-shirt on at like 5 years old or whatever.
I knew what was coming.
I was like, how is that even possible? And
right next to me is Mike Nicolini, which, great family, great people. And then I think next to Mike is you, Kory.
Yep,
and then next to you is Sam Nicolini, which Sam is, she's heavily involved in the industry. She's working with Red Bull right now. She does a lot of different things for social media management, and she has been a huge asset and a blessing to us to have her helping us out with our different stuff. But that verifies my story of how long that we have known each other, because that's got to be 25 years ago.
Well, you got to think Kyle is in Axo pants.
Yeah, so that was before his Fox deal.
Yeah, and I want to say, man, what year was that he went to Fox? Because that was like right the year after that I went to him.
What would you say, that was in early 90s?
Probably mid-90s.
I was born in 93.
Sorry, I'm aging myself.
Yeah, so that's probably, actually, then that would have been late 90s.
Yeah, that would be late 90s, because I was probably 5 right there, somewhere 4 or 5.
Yeah, so maybe 98, 99.
I think I started wearing Fox when I was still in 4 to 6. I think I was 6.
Tyler, didn't you call out what shirt Kory was wearing in that picture?
That was Bugle Boy.
Bugle Boy.
Oh, I remember Bugle Boy.
Had a Bugle Boy shirt on.
Dude, I was repping Bugle Boy for sure.
Yeah, we're all out there playing in the mud.
and I was 10 years older than you.
I can't even remember what track that is. Hey, here's something we could do, Tyler. If someone can properly identify what track that was, I know it was in Florida.
It's got to be South Florida, because it's black, nasty mud.
If someone can properly identify that, we will give some type of gift. What do we want to give? We want to give some, like a no-toil filter kit. We want to do a Fox helmet or something. We got to give something away. So if you're on YouTube and you see that picture, comment below what track you believe that is. And if we can figure out and properly identify it, we'll do a giveaway for that picture. But that validates my story of how long that we have known each other.
Long time.
And I get to go back and talk about some of those things. But, Kory, your dad, for the people that don't know, Kenny Keylon, raced professionally, big into FTR.
Yep.
So that probably put you on the bike at a pretty early age.
Yeah, I think I started riding when I wasn't that young. I think I was 5.
Okay.
4 or 5. I was riding a little battery-powered four-wheeler around at Dade City way back when Randy used to do a little battery-powered four-wheeler race on the start and, in halftime. And, I mean, that was you know.
It was intense.
Yeah. I mean, there's pictures of me looking over at little kids running into them and stuff when I was on a battery-powered four-wheeler when I was 4 or 5 years old, you know.
Yeah, and I know your dad and Randy were always close, so
yeah.
Racing at Dade City was pretty common for you guys.
Yep. Back then, you know, right before, a little bit earlier than that, my dad, they had the big money class back in the day, and, you know, my dad, they would put bounties on his head and stuff like that, and everybody would come try to beat him, and he just would smoke everybody. So, you know, a lot of people, you know, I've ridden with my dad still to this day. You go ride in the woods with him or something like that, and some of the things he does in the woods just blow my mind still to this day.
He real fast.
Oh man,
he makes slow people look slow.
Even slower.
Yeah,
he's real fast.
Like the first, you know, Shane never knew me or anything until you know when was the first time you ever met me? Was it at Gatorback when I rode the FTR?
No, I think I met you before then, but like right around that time frame.
That was the first time you ever see me ride.
Yeah.
Yeah,
one lap.
And
Hey, the one lap ninja, man.
Yep. You know, that was the first time I've rode in 10 years, though. You know, that was the first time I've raced in 10 years.
Well, before we get to that, though, I mean, talk about, you know, you started off, you know, you talk about on the four-wheeler and the circle track at Dade City. You go through, you know, basically getting on the bikes and transitioning up to two wheels from the four-wheel.
Yep.
And raced. Did you race majority at Dade City?
No. I mean, we traveled everywhere with my brother and stuff. So, I mean, we raced every Ponca, Loretta's, Minios. I mean, everything growing up.
So it was both locally and nationally.
Yep. We did a lot. We did a lot of traveling, and you know, and now my son, he's 5, so he started racing, and we're starting to do that, and now I know what it feels like to be my parents.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm in their shoes, and I'm like, whew, it's tough, man.
Well, you know, when you were doing that amateur stuff, there was a little bit where we always stayed connected through some of those. And I remember this is when you were kind of getting into the big bikes. You know, we had a Lake Whitney story, and then we have a Loretta story too, where your dad at Loretta's in my truck, and then we have your bike in my camper
going
at
through
Lake
the side
Whitney.
of the camper.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that was
you were on. Were you that? Was that 125s?
Yeah, it was when we went to Lake Whitney. Yeah, I think you brought my 125 up there. I was
Suzuki.
I was riding youth back then.
Yeah.
I think it's schoolboy now.
Right.
12 to 15 or something like that.
Yeah.
Schoolboy 1. It's gonna be the 125s. But yeah, you brought my bike up to Lake Whitney. I was probably riding 250B and schoolboy then.
Yeah. I think you and your mom flew to that race.
We flew up and got a rental car and stayed at a hotel.
Kyle and your dad were doing the pro stuff.
So. That was right when I was started riding big bikes. My brother started racing pro and was doing Supercross and stuff. So a lot of it was me and my mom from then on really until I quit.
Yeah.
But that was, you know, and then Loretta's. What year was that? I was probably 15, 16.
I think it might have been the Loretta's after Whitney, because Whitney would have been in spring.
I think I was on Cowie's when we went, when my dad was backing up your fifth wheel with your truck and KO'd both sides of the cab backing up because the fifth wheel hit it.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I'll give you the real quick summary of this story. So Lake Whitney, we take his Suzuki's out there, load them up in Brooksville, and don't even make it off of their road, and my tailgate falls down because it's a pretty bumpy road, and I don't think I had it latched all the way. And I'm pulling a gooseneck toy hauler camper, so his bikes are in the back, and Tyler Livesay's bikes are in the back. I make the turn off of their road. My tailgate goes right through the front of the toy hauler.
You're just ripping the toy hauler up.
Ripped it all. It was terrible. And I ended up getting mad, so I threw the tailgate in the median and left. We made it to Whitney. Get to Whitney, had a carbon monoxide alarm scare in the middle of the night.
That was you and Tyler, wasn't it?
Yeah, Livesay, and I had Pup Watley with me too.
Okay.
And we get through Whitney, and we're driving home, and I'm coming down I-10, which anybody that's driven down I-10 in Texas, there's it's like a whoop section.
Oh yeah.
And I look in my driver's side rearview mirror, and all I see is handlebars and a 310 front number plate, which was his number at the time. Still is. But I'm looking in my rear view, and in the toy hauler, it had a window on both sides. So I'm looking out the driver's side, and there's his front number plate, handlebars, and everything laying out the side of the window. It's still in the trailer, but we're driving down the interstate, and the bike's laying out the side of the toy hauler.
Yeah, like it's a wall, and everything's hanging out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was great. And then I don't know if it was Loretta's that year or maybe the following year. I think your parents actually went up early and kind of reserved us a little spot at Loretta's, and we rolled in late and trying to fit that gooseneck toy hauler into the spot that they were trying to get us in.
We had a little square blocked off, you know. We just make a little square with a camp.
Oh man, I was like, there's no way I'm getting this thing in there.
We got it in there with
2 football sized dents in each side of the cab because jackknifed the truck into the front nose of and not me, his dad.
Yeah.
So
and he never even knew.
Yeah,
he gets out. Oh yeah, it's in there. It's good.
We're good.
And then we're like, no, the back of the cab.
You just crushed it on both sides.
SanfordandSonRacing.com.
Oh yeah.
And I think that same year, it was that you had like a 05 Ford 6.0.
Yep.
You blew the head gasket on the way up there too. On the way home. It was on the way home.
On the way home.
That poor truck.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then I think it was the next week that we went and traded it in.
Yep.
So we got to the lows of Kory's amateur racing. What were your highs? Did you ever have any like titles or like?
No, I just never had good luck. Like for Loretta's, for instance, you know, there was a couple years that I went there 65s. I remember one year I went there on a 65 and stock and mod. Stock class first moto, wadded it on the start, first turn pile up, got, I don't know, I think I got like 29th or 30th. And first moto in the mod class, same thing, wadded it up, got, I think, 31st. Second moto, went in, got top 5, both classes. Third moto, same thing, went in, got top 5, both classes. But, you know, it was always one moto that killed me. The one year that I went to Loretta's that I was ready, I was in shape, I mean, anything I could do, I was doing it. And we even went up to Tennessee early that year, stayed up there a week early, was riding up there at places and stuff like that, and go first lap of practice and overshoot the center, the
10 Commandments?
No, right next to the 10 Commandments, they had the
on the
table,
way back.
the tabletop going in the sweeper.
Into the beach, yeah.
Yep. And I just overshot it a little bit and landed, and it was freshly tilled, and the bike stuck, and went over the bars, landed, and broke my shoulder. And I even raced all week long with a broken shoulder. A lot of people don't know that. And I think I got 6th or 7th overall with a broken shoulder. But, you know, it's just, I always had something happen at Loretta's or Minio's, or, you know, I never had good luck at nationals ever. But like the area qualifiers, regional qualifiers, I mean, I was racing against Barsha, Savachi, all them guys, you know. And I go to the regional, and they were all in the same region as me because they were all training at MTF at the time. And I mean, I went to the regional and went 1-1-1-1-1-1, won all 6 motos. But you get to Loretta's and just something stupid, you know, and break my shoulder. And
that's so common though. Like I just had a conversation with somebody the other day that we were talking about a potential rider for the team, and I mentioned to him, I said, are you going to try and do Loretta's this year? And he was like, man, we've been there 6 years in a row, and every single year we have that one bad moto. It's like a curse.
There's so much emphasis on that race.
There is, and with a 3-moto format.
Yep, you got to have it perfect. I mean, 250B mod, I went 2-3 third moto DNF because I went in 10 Commandments on the first lap. I was in 2nd or 3rd coming in 10 Commandments. The bike shuts off. And all it was, come to find out, just sat there, kicked it, couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, pushed it off the track, you know. And all it was the plug going in the CDI box. It just come loose a little bit and had a bad connection, and the bike freaking shuts off, you know. And it's just, you talk about the highs and lows, and I mean, there you go. I mean, you know, going to get top 3 in 250B mod against, you know, running with all them guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
that's crazy, man. And it's one of those things that a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on that race, like Shane mentioned.
It drives me nuts, kind of.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I agree. So was it the injuries or the shortfalls at all these nationals when did you decide, like, man, I don't want to do this anymore?
I was a senior in high school, and I crashed right before Minio's. I was practicing the day before we left to go to Minio's. I was riding Supercross, and we had a double going into the whoops. I come out of the turn, and I slid coming off the double and come into the whoops a little bit sideways, wadded it, broke my collarbone, and then got back healthy and stuff, and then go to qualify for Loretta's. And I crashed at the area, broke my wrist real bad and stuff, and had to have surgery on it. And, I mean, it was just like one thing after another, and it's just like I was tired of getting hurt, tired of having surgery, and it's just one of them things.
I said I'm over it.
Yep.
It hasn't stopped you lately.
No.
Well, but that's what I was getting to, though, is that there was a bit of a gap there. I mean, you're talking about at that time, how old are you? When you say, I'm tired of surgeries, I'm tired of injuries, this just isn't working out.
I was 17 or 18.
And just said, I'm done.
And, I look back at it now, and I really, 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 truly regret it.
Yeah.
Because I know still to this day that I feel like if I went and trained for 6 months or something and rode with these guys, that I could still go ride with them.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I didn't touch a bike for 10 years after that.
Yeah.
And it was you that talked me into going riding the FTR up there at Gatorback.
Yeah.
And, I had kids and stuff like that, got married, had kids, have 3 kids.
Yeah.
And my son, we just never went to the track. I didn't really want him to ride. And you talked me into going riding the FTR, and then that was it. He's like, Dad, I want a bike after that. And I was like, all right, if you want it, I'll get you one.
Got suckered in, man.
Oh, I did.
See what Future MX will do for you?
Yep. And then, we got him going, and, I mean, we didn't really take it serious for a year or two and just kind of let him piddle around, and now we're getting there. He's got the natural ability, that's for sure. And,
old rowdy man.
Yep. We just got him a Cobra, and that's definitely turned him into a whole nother person, and it kind of scares me a little bit.
Well, with the last name Keylon,
I
think there's a little bit of something in that bloodline. That he's probably got a pretty good odds.
Yep. He's just got to get past that little bit of fear. He's still got a little bit of fear. I mean, he's young. He's still got...
I still have that fear.
Yeah, he's still got this year and next year in 4 to 6
Poor RJ never grew out of it.
Yeah, I still have that. That's why I'm a wheels on the ground.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I still have that fear.
I mean, I just got here from practice, and with him, and, today we started hitting some doubles and, doing a little step up and stuff like that. And
is it cool for you to see the progression?
Oh, yeah, 100%. When we started hitting the jumps today, I was pumped.
Yeah.
I was definitely pumped. And, we keep just making those little steps, and he'll get there. And by next year, 4 to 6 class, oh, yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I know you're talking about Rowdy right now and doing 4 to 6, like trying to make a run at Loretta's and stuff like that.
Yep.
You, by yourself, are back on the bike as well.
Yep.
So we talk about that 10-year gap. You talked about coming back into FTR. You did some of the pre-modern A-class stuff at FTR.
Yep.
I know we did Gatorback, Dade City. I mean, there's a bunch of them that, we went through and did. But now you're on a 450.
Yep. Got a new 450. I mean, that was the first time I've been on a 450 in
a long time.
Since I was 18.
And this is recent?
Oh, yeah.
This was recent. Yeah. You didn't know I got one?
No, I didn't. The last time I saw you ride is when that 250 stepped out on you at Dade City.
And broke my collarbone?
And you broke your collarbone. I'm like, man, this poor guy.
Yeah, there's a reoccurring theme there.
So I think he's back in it, ladies and gentlemen, and now he's got a 450.
Yep.
In that, it's a 95 KX250.
God, that thing's badass.
Yeah, that's the one that TJ with Sasquatch built. He definitely did real good on that bike there. But that motor is just, I don't know, something about that bike. It's just so fast. But it's set up for the woods, and I took it out to Dade City and was trying to ride it on the track, and it's so soft, and it just
bucked you.
Yeah, it unloaded coming off a little tiny baby roller. And
so you decided, you know what? Sasquatch Built Bikes did such a good job on that rebuild. We're going to put this thing back up in the house here and put it on display and go buy a 450.
Yeah, we need to hang that thing up on
because we need more power.
So I don't get to hear that 250 run anymore?
No. We still got it.
Okay.
I rode it that day in the dirt, and
it
blew the rear shock out. And last moto I rode it.
That shock keeps biting you.
Dude, I'm telling you. I don't know what it is about that thing. It just.
So what's the, getting the 450, what is the plan for Kory Keylon here? So we've kind of hooked you back into it. We've reeled you back in.
Yep.
What do you want to do? Like, what is your goals now? I mean,
I would love to go race GNCCs.
Yeah.
But, it's life, and trying to get in shape to go ride a 3-hour race, that's that's a tough one, and I know I have the speed to go ride with those guys and, really compete, but it's life, I'm run my own business and stuff like that. So it's battling that and practicing and taking little man to ride, and, it's tough. It's definitely tough.
Trying to run a business, be a dad, be a husband.
Especially when Zach Osborne's out there training his ass off right now.
Yeah, he lives the life.
Yeah, so and that's who probably he'd be racing against.
He's riding a 250.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's riding, what is it, XC2?
Honestly,
XC1s, 450s, XC2s,
XC2s.
250s. So I wouldn't even, but I would ride the A class, the 450A, which is, if you look at the lap times, they're so close. They're 3 seconds off of XC2 and XC1, and that's not a lot when you're riding 30-minute lap times.
So it's almost like the B amateur versus the A. The B class is like way fast.
Exactly.
That's a whole nother subject, by the way. But the B class is way faster than the A class.
You look at Loretta's every year at Loretta's. You look at the B lap times and the A lap times.
Yeah.
And somebody in the B class is always putting in a faster lap time. It's almost every year, guaranteed.
No doubt. Well, Shane, when we flew to Des Moines and bought the semi, that was the Gas GNCC team semi.
Yes, sir.
So now that Kory is going to go do some GNCCs, maybe we ought to take that semi to some GNCCs.
We can go woods racing, RJ.
I love it.
It's probably lighter on the wall a little bit.
Great. That'd be great.
I'm just saying, but I grew up racing desert,
Yeah.
There's no trees, no nothing, just sand and dirt and.
I don't go that fast though. You're too high speed.
And I've gotten off at fifth gear wide open on a 450, and it's not fun. But
no.
But that's probably why I slowed down anyway. But dude, off-road racing, man, to me is just like the most genuine form of racing.
Well, I think that's why all of us, Shane, myself, Kory, honestly, all of our friends kind of here in Central Florida, we love going to that Florida Trail Rider Series because the camaraderie at the races, it's not really just about the race. It's the night times and being able to sit around with your friends and family. Kory mentioned a little bit ago his kids. It's funny, we grew up together very closely for almost 25 years now, and then we have 3 kids that are the exact same gender and the exact same age.
Yeah.
It's you couldn't write a funnier story as how this all worked out, and for us to be able to go camping together, the kids just get along so well, and to go that they've become very close friends. And it's funny because my parents were friends with Kory's parents, and then I became friends with Kory, and now my kids are friends with Kory's kids, and it's like 3 generations of going through this moto family, which is one of the most unspoken, close knit families out there. You
take moto, and that's one thing I'll never change. It's you look at my life growing up and stuff like that. The older I get, the more I look back at it, and
probably the more appreciate it.
Oh yeah, 100%. You look at the things your parents do to take you to these races, and especially now, I look at it and see how much it costs, and it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
For me. I was at the track tonight, and I spent $600 on nothing, just parts and stuff, just dumb little things, and it's just like, it just blows my mind, and just people don't really see it from the outside looking in, how much it really costs to go racing.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me, it's the experience of things that are like travel. Okay. So there's a lot of families locally that don't, that might not be into motorcycles, and they're staying home locally playing soccer and baseball and gymnastics, which, my kids are in that too. But when you get to go to a different city and a different track and a different state, and you're traveling all over the place. And I look at where motocross, even for Future MX this year, flying all the way out to California to go to Anaheim 2, going to Texas, going to Nashville, going to all these races, those cities are amazing cities. I mean, Salt Lake City last year was one of my most favorite trips. I mean, it's beautiful out there. I think Shane and I actually talked about, just outside of Park City, Utah's a place that if you had an opportunity to live somewhere that you would love to live at.
I love to have property out there.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous. And to be able to see that, I mean, yes, it's expensive.
Oh, yeah.
We all know the downfalls of how expensive it is.
Oh, yeah.
But there's things in life that the kids are learning, and, they get to see things that maybe some other, stick and ball sports might not.
Oh, yeah, 100%. You wouldn't, you look at it, all the things that I seen traveling. I mean, we've spent days and days. I mean, years realistically in our motorhome traveling across the world, all the United States and everything, and all the things we've seen and done, and just, spending time with my family while we're traveling and the things we got to do. Yeah. And, I mean, next weekend we're going to Illinois for an area qualifier. Yeah. So it's like, I'm excited for that. I'm not really excited about the driving and all that fun stuff, but
not excited about the drive, but excited about the trip.
Yeah, just the experience the kids get to have, and spending time with the kids, and
it's just funny, like, I'm not getting sentimental or nothing, because my son raced. He was B class out on the West Coast. Yep. And it was expensive, but once it gets in your blood, and you just don't even blink an eye at that stuff.
Well, and we say it all the time. Once this sport hooks you,
that's it.
You can't get out.
And I haven't been trying to get out. Like, I've obviously worked in the industry for a lot of years, but
you got out, and then you had to get right back in.
I got right back in,
Same thing with me.
And then my only connection now is this podcast, but which I think is really fun. Yeah. But there's.
And the Future MX team.
Yeah, and I help you guys out, but there's never you can once you do this, that's
it.
Yeah. And because my son's story is kind of like yours, he just got tired of getting hurt, and I wasn't disappointed. I said, "Listen, dude, you're your own human being. You do what you want to do," but it did free up some money in the pocketbook. Yep. and this is in the, I would say, early 2000s. Yeah. And I pulled up the Paris Raceway, and between sign up, which I'll never bitch about, and I would never take anything back I ever did. But when you pull up to a track, and before you even get through the gate, it's a $500-$600 bill. Yep. Just between sign up and pulling your camper. Yeah. Like, imagine what it costs for these poor people nowadays.
Oh, I know. I know.
Fuel.
Yeah.
Fuel.
Well, not only fuel, but like entry fees. And when you look at some of these bigger nationals, and I'm not going to name one specifically and put anybody out.
You do it because you love it, though.
Yeah, but you think about, like, there's RV hookup fees, there's car pass fees, there's pit vehicle fees, there's entry fees. Like, there's just fee after fee after fee.
To go to a national, it's easy $2,000.
Yeah, I mean, and now they're charging you Wi-Fi, and it's like, wow.
We should really put our pocketbooks together and buy a track and put a national together.
Well, but
they're the only ones, smart ones in the game.
Well, and even when I'm not, again, the reason I said I'm not singling out any event.
No, dude, they're trying to make money too, man. Just like everybody else.
Now, though.
But it also takes a lot of money to put on that race. And 100%. One of the things we were talking about, and actually in Nashville, Kory and I, we got to spend some time with a very good friend of ours, Win Kern. He owns Gatorback. Yeah. And they're talking about how many electrical hookups they're putting in right now. They're running water lines all over the property. They're adding Wi-Fi further out away from the track. I mean, they are putting infrastructure in that cost a lot of money.
Okay. We're not going to get banned from the outdoors, but good, but good for Win Kern.
Yeah.
Honestly, let's be honest. He's actually taking money that he's earning and investing back into his facility.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go to High Point. Yeah. And that is Davey Coombs. Sorry, but he owns the track. It's still the same High Point that you've seen for the last 50 years. Yep. And that in pro racing, that frustrates the race teams because there's no improvements. There's no easy way. They don't make it easier for you to get in, get out. There's no like improvement. Oh, we laid some rock down this year so it doesn't get muddy. Yeah, well, like, dude, Go to Texas Outdoor.
So Shane just got us kicked out of going.
Whatever, but go to the Texas.
High Point's on our list.
Go to the Texas Outdoor, which they don't even race anymore. And that old boy out there in that farm freaking put up water hookups for all the trucks and like invested into his facility.
Yeah.
I told all these boys that I know, which is everybody in the industry, that I would go to bat for them. But like, let's put a little bit of money into these tracks that we race at. I mean, it's great that Winkern's doing that because he's obviously passionate about his place and the racing.
But that's the people, makes it enjoyable to go to the track and have the water hookup and have power and stuff like it's not cheap, don't get me wrong.
Right. It costs money, but you know that the benefit of having it.
Oh yeah, 100%. But you look at going to a campground. I mean, it's not cheap to go stay at a campground for a week.
Right.
So like going to Minios and stuff like that, I personally have no problem paying a hookup fee and stuff like that. But the biggest problem is they sell out in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like when he puts them online, they're gone.
Yeah.
So you got to be on top of that. But, Win, he's definitely tries to make it more enjoyable and make it better and better and better and every year.
Well, and I think Loretta's, and I know you just mentioned Davey Coombs, but even Davey with Loretta's.
Davey's a great guy. I'm not talking bad about Davey. I'm just saying like the High Point's still High Point.
Yep.
Well, you look at Loretta's getting wiped out from the flood,
Yep.
and then basically rebuilding Loretta's and adding the Wi-Fi at Loretta's, paving the roads, putting up new fences, the pavilions that they have there. I mean, they are doing a lot at Loretta's. I mean, even Loretta's, we were there last year. Actually, we've been there for the last couple of years. It's way different than when you and I went.
I don't know. It's been 12 years since I've been, 11, 12 years since I've been to Loretta's. So it's like, I couldn't even tell you anything about the place anymore.
No, I mean they've a paved pump track. I mean there's so many things that they have done right now, and I do want to say give credit where credit is due, but at the same time, you know, like Shane's saying, hey, give credit where credit's due, but also here's the truth about some of the other places too. And
if you and the boy go to Loretta's, do not jump off any trees into the river.
Yeah, I know where the trees are. You're supposed to jump off of.
But don't do it until after the last moment.
Don't do it where Benny did it.
Yeah, Benny took his whole self out by jumping.
All these, like all these people we have on the show and this and that, like you just learn things what not to do in certain places.
There was a bridge we used to go jump off of and stuff like that. We'd all hop in the truck and go down the road, and right down the road there, not too far down the road, there was a good bridge to jump off of.
That place, I've only been there twice with you, and that place is beautiful, man.
I remember way back in the day, they used to do the rodeo one night, and I mean, when we were little, I would do the mutton bust and riding the sheep and stuff like that. And I mean, like,
of course you did.
Yeah, dude, that's good stuff.
Florida boy, man, Florida boy.
Yeah, that's right.
So, Kory, a couple questions that I wanted to ask you, and Shane might have some too. But one of the things, when you talk about when you were growing up, riding, training, whatever, and you look at some of that stuff today, okay? So we talk about there's so many facilities, and you already mentioned MTF as one of them earlier in the episode, but when you look at the way that you guys, meaning you and your brother Kyle, how you guys did it when you were growing up versus some of the things that you see today, what are your thoughts? I mean, if you, to get to the level that you and your brother did, to get your son Rowdy to that level, what do you think the path is today?
I honestly don't really say I want to. I don't know. I don't want to change how we did it because I think it's more. I wouldn't say pure, but
organic.
Yeah, it's more organic. That's a good word for it.
Yeah.
But we had our track and we rode, and we rode with a bunch of great friends, and we did a lot of woods riding, and we just try to enjoy it and do it to where we wouldn't get burnt out on it and stuff like that, And I think a lot of these guys that are going to these facilities and stuff like that, I mean, like for instance, MTF was like, when I was racing, it was
the cream of the crop.
Yeah, it was the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
And everybody went there, and that was like the thing, and I was always jealous and stuff like that back in the day, but I look back at it now and I'm like, man, I'm glad I didn't go there. I'm glad I did what I did and rode with the people I rode with and stuff like that. And that's a lot of it is who you surround yourself with, no matter if you're at a facility, at your house, riding in the woods, riding wherever. It's the people you surround yourself with. If everybody has the same goal and everybody wants to train and put in the work to get to where they need to be, And, as you start to get older and stuff like that, 85s to 125s right in there, that's really when you really got to start putting in the work. When you're younger and stuff like that, you just try to have fun. And that's where I want my son to want to ride. I don't want to have to push him to ride. If he wants to ride, all right, let's ride. If we want to race, all right, let's race.
I agree with that completely. And I was actually talking to an agent when we were out in California that's, kind of become a good friend of mine. I know, Shane, you know who it is, and you guys have been great friends for a long time. And he basically told me on mini bikes, keep it fun.
Yeah.
Make it 100%. Fun, enjoy the events, travel with your family, do the best you can. Yep. But once you make that transition from the mini bike to the big bike, that's when it gets real.
Yep. But even, you look at Carson, for instance, at the end of the mini bike, 85, you want to be there,
Oh,
and that's really where, I was there, like me and Savachi and Bogle, I raced with Bogle, I raced, McElrath and all them guys, that's my age group right there. Those are the guys I was racing against.
Yeah.
You look at Shane McElrath, and when we were younger, he really wasn't that top guy. He wasn't like,
right.
It was him and his dad. I remember them, and he was, he wasn't the number one guy, but he put in the work and put his head down, and look where it got him. He does pretty well for himself.
What did he get? 5th at Denver?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. You can't complain about that one. But you gotta have fun for sure. And I definitely seen that because there's a big difference between me and my brother. Everybody knows it.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows it. And my dad pushed my brother, but my brother, I wouldn't say wanted it more than me, but that's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
He definitely had the passion for it more than I did. I loved riding a motorcycle, but I loved it more for, just the pure of riding and, getting my head clear. And
do you feel like some of that woods riding, I know your family, obviously the Keylon name, your dad, even your grandpa,
Yep.
huge in woods riding. Do you feel like the technical side of that woods riding was an asset to you?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. You think about it. You go into, you look at all these tracks that have these just deep, gnarly ruts, and there's 20 of them going down a straightaway. That's where standing up, feet on the pegs, squeezing with your knees and your body English, that's it. Riding through the woods, that's 100% how you got to ride in the woods.
Yeah.
Feet on the pegs, you never want to take your feet off the pegs. You squeezing with your knees, just riding the bike and flowing through the trees and stuff. You take that and you put it into a rut, you never let off. And
I think that's across the board with any kind of guy that races any kind of motorcycle. If you venture off and do other things, it teaches you different disciplines.
Yep.
Skills, bike skills.
You look at a guy like Kurt Caselli, phenomenal moto rider, but like great off-road rider. Travis Preston, which I know very well, rode off-road and crazy off-camber stuff all the time when he was training for Supercross and stuff. Like, it just creates a different balance.
Yeah, I think the bike skills aspect of it is huge. That's a big part of it for me. And like it is interesting to see, Osborne, who's been on one of our previous episodes. Anybody can go back and listen to that one. But it's cool to me to see, a Supercross, motocross champion transition into the GNCC racing and go race in the woods. And honestly, I look at Ryan Sipes. Ryan's been on our episodes before, and Pooh's with us with the team, and to see these guys, dabble in so much. Yep. Ryan specifically doing the flat track and the off-road, and then still coming back and doing Supercross. I think that shows more of, I'm not just a Supercross motocross rider. Yeah. I am a skilled motorcycle rider.
Zach Osborne's career to me is phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't know this, but like when Osborne was on 65s, him and my brother, at Minias, they used to have the FTR portion of it, the trail portion of it. Yeah. So before they created Diamondback, that was all woods all right there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And back in the day, instead of having, did they do Supercross then?
I don't think they did.
I think it was the trails and the motocross track.
Yeah.
They called it GP. It was the Supercross, motocross, and the Grand Prix.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was all three.
Yep. And then him and my brother, they would always just destroy everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody riding in the woods. I mean, they would do the short course for the 65 class. I remember the one year they messed up and went and rode the long course, which is, I think, 2 or 3 miles longer. And they still come out ahead of everybody and beat everybody.
Yeah.
And,
That's awesome.
Yep. We always talk about stuff like that, when we get around the Osbornes, because, I mean, him and my brother were great friends, good family, and,
such a
great people.
Yeah. And they do, they've been a lot of the FTRs too. I mean, they did the one right here at Munden Hill when we took the semi to where I beat Shane, and that
he's got his little boy now. He rides a little bit. He took him out to Dade City. I seen him out there one Thursday night practicing.
Hey, listen, my bike stalled a lot, bro.
That's not my problem.
That was bike malfunction. I would have beat you.
Hey, I got one you can borrow. No excuses.
No.
Well, I got a new one that's faster now.
I don't know about that 95. He can ride that one.
He could try.
I hope that thing. I hope you go so fast that when you let off the gas and would brake hard, that thing stalls just like my Suzuki.
Hey, RJ can't grab too much front brake now. That's how he broke a collarbone.
Yeah, can't do that.
He's not good with the front brake.
No, you never heard that story?
No. You went over the bars?
I've been over the bars many of times.
That's how you broke your collarbone the one time, wasn't it?
No, that's because I landed short at Watley's.
Oh, I thought you grabbed a handful of front brake and went over the bars.
Well, I did because I came up short at Watley's and basically bounced off of casing it and then was trying to make the next turn before the pond and grabbed the front brake.
I would love to see you jump.
It was not fun.
Can we get you to do a jump?
I was actually trying to
out of the compound.
I was breaking in Tyler Livesay's boots because he just got a brand new pair of boots and he was going to ride that day.
So you're the boot bitch.
Yeah, I was. So I went and broke in the boots and was just putting out some laps to try and get them broke in. And nobody was out there riding yet because I was purposely trying to break in before they started riding. And I hit one of the jumps out at Watley's, which was a cool little track. I mean, it was a fun track. I mean, it was like a mile from James's place.
I was about to say, it was right down the road from Stewart's place.
Yeah, in Haines City. And the Watley's, they were always great to us. They had that KWWD team going at that time. And I just came up short and kind of bounced off of the finish. But there was a sharp right-hand turn right before the lake.
I'm getting a visual right now.
And I was like, I'm not going to make this turn, and I'm going to the lake, and I can't take this bike. And, obviously it was Tyler's race bike because we were trying to get it all going.
So you hucked your body.
Oh, dude, it was bad.
Now you talk about jumping.
Hey, it was right before Lake Whitney. Remember I had the figure 8 brace on at Lake Whitney?
At Whitney. Yeah.
I broke my collarbone, went to the ER.
So you were out of sorts on the way to Lake Whitney.
Dude, that whole trip, I forgot about that.
Yep, that's what it was.
I broke the collarbone right before we were supposed to hook up the day before we were going. That's why I was breaking into boots, was for Whitney. And when I crashed, broke my collarbone, went to the ER. They put me in one of those little figure 8 braces. Mm-hmm. I wasn't allowed to lift anything. And we're supposed to load the whole trailer and travel. I was taking Pup, Tyler, and Kory's bikes out there. Mm. Then we had the carbon monoxide. We had my tailgate. We had Kory's bike go through the side of the trailer.
So you just were not on your A game at that point.
Man, that was a bad week. That was a bad week.
I feel like every trip to national or anything that you did,
there was always something.
Something happened.
There's
always a story about it.
Why do you think he makes me drive the truck out of the stadium and let's just keep this?
No, that was no good. That was a bad week. I forgot about that broken collarbone. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah. That's a great memory. I still have the hump to show for it too.
Yeah.
But you talk about jumping, the first time I went onto a track in 10 years and I'm like, dude, I was nervous about jumping. I'm like, then I hit my first one and I was like, all right. Yeah. And it all came back to me and then I was like, it was nothing after that. But it was like, the things you don't even think about anymore. And then now, I feel like now that I'm older, I overthink everything about riding. Like, I really critique myself when I'm riding. I did not do that when I was younger.
Yeah.
Well, you got to go to work on Monday.
Yeah, I definitely. That's why, like the FTRs, my brother and my dad were talking so much smack because I started riding FTRs again, and I would ride 2-3 laps and I would pull off.
Yeah.
And because I'm not in shape good enough to go ride a 2-hour moto and pound it out.
At a pace,
and ride a solid pace, and that's where I want to ride, but I can't do that. And we went to Bartow. Was it Bartow, I think? My dad raced? I think it was Bartow.
Yes.
And him and my brother came to Bartow, and I was the only one out of all of us that actually my dad finished too.
Oh, he finished, but he paid the price.
But all night throwing up because he just has no quit. I mean, he won, smoked everybody.
Yeah, he won by like 25 minutes.
Yeah, I think he wasn't far off of our pace.
Yeah.
And I mean,
he paid the price for it that night.
Yeah, that night.
I think he rode that on my bike.
Yep, he did on the 125.
Yeah, he rode that on my 125.
And that poor 125 hasn't been the same since.
No, it has not.
that was the last good run it had.
Yeah, she gone.
Yep. But you know, him and my brother, neither one of them finished that race. Well, he finished. My brother didn't even finish that race. My dad finished it. He paid the price. I'm like, see, y'all over here talking bad about me, but guess what? I feel great. I'm sitting here eating dinner, hanging out with everybody, and the next day I'm going home, and then I'm going to work.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. It was a Day in the Dirt. Your brother raced Day in the Dirt.
Yep.
And we were standing over against a fence on the back section by the road, and I was just like, "Who in the hell is that?" I mean, balls to the wall, getting it. And I was like,
"Yeah, but he didn't ride many of them because he had a bike issue there too."
Whatever time I saw
his Kickstarter,
he broke like 3 Kickstarters.
Yeah,
it kept. I don't know.
Whatever time I saw him, I was like, "Yo, that
bike looked good.
That dude is making Josh Grant look like silly."
No.
Okay, in that one section, I don't know, but I've never seen Kyle ride, so I was like, "Holy hell, man, that guy is no joke."
Yeah, he goes good.
Yeah.
I mean, both of you are no joke. Trust me, you guys will freaking whip my ass and like freaking, off the start, and be lapping me before I get to the first corner. But I get it. But
you've been racing a little bit at Dade City.
Yep.
I know you.
Yep. I actually, we'll not talk about that yet, but
what? Talk about it. Go.
The team.
My new guy.
Yeah.
That's why I was getting ready. That's where I was going with this.
Yeah,
that's where I was going. So, anybody that follows us on our Instagram or social media stuff can see that we just picked up and signed a new guy yesterday. His name is Caleb Groves. I believe it was Heath called me about him first, and then Randy talked to me about him, the owner of Dade City Motocross, Randy Yoho. We did a call in with him, when Tyler completely bashed him. But so they called and they talked about it, and they're like, hey, got this guy, and he grew up racing. He was pretty quick. Got up to super minis, and then basically kind of stopped racing at that time, for whatever reasons, whether, getting in the way with school or family, grades, whatever it may be. I don't know. But, he stopped racing for a while, and then just out of the blue goes out and gets another bike, a couple years, I think 3 or 4 years off the bike. And earlier this year, he buys one and he gets going again, and starts going pretty quick around. He's doing the Florida series, he's doing the Dade City series, and I had a couple people reach out and talk about it, and just like everything, it all boils down to budget and what we're able to offer to somebody and do for them. And we were able to make him an offer yesterday and do a deal for anybody that follows along on our Instagram and stuff. But Kory, you actually raced him.
Yep. At
Dade City, and I heard from a couple people also that Caleb actually was out there racing one day against, I think it was Ethan or something, did pretty well against Ethan, and I'm like, okay, well now if he's, I know Kory's speed. I grew up with Kory. I know how fast Kory was. I think I was probably the most vocal person, even when we back in the iMoto days, that said that if Kory would have put his head into it like Kyle did, I think Kory would have been extremely successful in racing. And I think we, more fun or just more laid back.
He's successful in my book.
He's very successful. Yeah, absolutely. But I think even going pro and things like that, and I think, you and I have talked about this before too, Kory, but I know Kory's speed. So when they were calling, and I think you beat Caleb in Moto 1, and then Caleb got you in Moto 2.
Yeah, he got me on the start, man. That 450, I don't have a start device on that thing. Oh man, that is. I still don't. I'm still a little guy, so I don't weigh enough. I could sit on the handlebars, and that thing's in a wheelie on me.
Yeah.
And he got me on the start, and it was just. We were
pushing.
We were pushing real hard. That's the fastest I've pushed, to go in a long time. And he got me. He definitely got me in the second moto.
So we got the call from you. We talked to Heath. We talked to Randy, and they were like, hey man, you might want to look at this guy. So we started talking about it, and just trying to figure out what we can do, what we can offer, and ended up being able to put something together. So we can officially say right now that Caleb Groves is a future MX rider. He is going to try and represent us in the A and the Open Pro Sport classes, probably jump into some of the college boy stuff too. And, we'll let him, it's not let him, he can do whatever he wants, but continue to race the Dade City Series because, we love Dade City. It's our local place. It's, our hometown shop for where the semi and the team operates out of. So he's going to go do some local stuff. He's going to do the Florida Series. He's actually, as we speak right now, he's traveling to an area qualifier. He's going to make a little run for Loretta's, which was a very last minute, decision. So
has he done Loretta's?
I think he did years ago, because again, remember
on bikes.
I think it was on mini bikes, but he took quite a bit of time off, and we just got him back on the bike. So, to have a future MX bike on the track, locally here in our home base is great, and then all around Florida with again the different series between the Florida Series, the Winter Ams, the Gold Cups, the I-4 Series. I mean, it'll be awesome to have him out there representing the team and doing that. And, it's funny to me because we talk about the training facilities and the people and everything like that. But, Caleb has a full-time job. He's fully employed Monday through Friday as a full-time job. He works for Irby, which, a huge thank you to them. Irby's a great company. I know a lot of people that work there, and they're a great company. So for the people that are out there that are allowing him to, take a day off here to go to a race or whatever, I mean, that's awesome. And I appreciate that, but I more than anything, I respect it. I mean, the guy's out there working during the week and he's still trying to ride, 3 days a week, 4 days a week if he can. And to be able to go out there and do that and, do the best you can. And, I think my biggest thing with him when we were talking and we were signing the contract was, go have some fun, man. I think that's one of the things that, our Supercross season and this grind of going to all the races and getting the hauler there and setting up the awning. And Shane, you know it more than I do because you did it for so long. But when it turns into work and it's not fun anymore, it makes it hard to do. And I mean, I personally got to a point where it was so much stress of managing, staff, getting the hauler where it needs to go, making sure there was food and water. And, I had huge help from a lot of people involved in our circle. I mean, between Matt Bell and Brian and my wife, I mean, you, Shane, and, we've got a lot of good people in our corner to do this stuff. But man, at the end of the day, it boils down to making sure that all this stuff is right. And I just want to go have fun, and that's where we talked about the semi, and, Kory, I mentioned to you, we'll take that semi, go race a GNCC, we'll take that semi and show up at Dade City on a Saturday night, and, that's the cool part about being able to be flexible and do what you want to do. But the biggest thing in the end is if you're not having fun,
100%,
why are you doing it?
100%.
And I just don't want people to lose that aspect of motorcycles.
And you look at it, I've been doing this for so long, you've been doing it for so long, and my family has and stuff like that, and you look at it and then you look at how many kids get burnout.
Absolutely.
How many kids that I raced with that I look back, I'm like, man, what happened to that kid? This kid used to rip, but, he pushed and pushed and pushed, and his parents pushed him, or, he pushed too hard, or his parents pushed too hard, and, you just get burnt out on it before you even turn pro, and it's just, you taking the fun out of it. And that's where I think, I really want to make sure, and I always got to tell myself.
Try and check it.
Yeah, you got to check yourself on it, and just like, all right, we're doing this for fun. Doesn't matter what place we get, and with my son especially, we're not there yet. We're nowhere near there yet.
Yeah.
You just know better not to press the issue.
Yeah.
It's like, have fun as a family and go out there and do it. And kids get affected by that at an early age when 100%. You just push them, it's like.
I honestly, I think that's why it was so grateful to see, Adam, AC9. I mean, I remember doing interviews with him in the iMoto days back in the day. And I mean, that guy grinded so hard for so long. And, he went through a bad patch. He's been vocal about it. He's said it on his own. That's why I think he's one of the greatest ambassadors of the sport there is right now, because he speaks very well, but he's also open and honest about some of the demons and dark struggles that he's gone through. And to see him do well is very rewarding for me, because I love seeing it,
And, a lot of people, he was, I don't know, he's a couple years younger than me. He's not too much younger than me. He was on an 85 and I was on a 125.
Yeah.
And, that kid just always pushed so hard. I mean, training so hard. And, a lot of people don't know, but he is super smart.
He is.
He is very smart, very intelligent. And I don't know. It's just, you look at that, and he's a perfect example of getting pushed
I
too
think
hard.
the AC story to this point should be a lesson to parents
100%.
because not that his parents are great people.
Yeah.
But you could go through the amateur ranks and just completely crush it, and then when you get to that next level, it's tough. It's not an easy thing to get through.
I think there's a lot of manufacturers that are looking at it like that right now. I mean, look at these guys that have given somebody the golden ticket from, mini bikes, big bikes, and then they transition into pro and the return's not there. So I think it's changing a little bit right now when you look at some of these guys that have been, and I'm just going to use these as examples, but, they've been a Team Green guy for a long time. They've been an Orange Brigade guy for a long time. They've been, a Blue Crew guy for a long time. And then they get into big bikes, and it's like 1 year in big bikes, they don't perform the way they should, and then they're out.
It's gone.
And I'm like, man, that is not the way it should be.
No, because you need, you get that transition right there, and you need more than a year.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that easy,
And it's devastating for the rider because he still has he still has a young mind. He's not mature enough to even comprehend that.
100%. It's that confidence. You have that confidence coming into it, and then it just takes it away, and then you're like, man, am I good enough? That's.
It's sad to see, but that's the way the sport is right now. And I mean, hopefully that changes. And I think I truly believe that some of the manufacturers are changing that way of thinking a bit. I mean, obviously if you have a bright shining star, you want to get behind them and keep going and hope that it turns out. But, you see a lot of these guys switching brands when they go from, mini bikes to big bikes. And
I mean, Deegan for instance.
Yeah, that's why I said Orange Brigade, and I'm not going to call them out by any means, I mean, they're all great brands, but that was one of the examples that came to my mind as soon as I started thinking about it. But either way, it kind of just goes back to that thing, man. Keep it fun, keep it where it's a family-oriented deal, just like that, Beeks is the one that said it. He was like, the mini bikes, go have fun, enjoy the thing. Once you get onto big bikes, then things, turn serious and, you can start looking at it as a career. But
as far as serious, I have a question for you. Aiden Shai is back on the bike now.
Last week, yes.
Last week.
Yep.
What is the future? No pun intended.
What is the future of Future Motocross?
No, what is the future for Aiden coming up this summer?
So, getting on the bike last week, our goal was to try and do as many outdoors as we could do. Obviously, budget is a factor for us.
Yeah.
It truly all boils down to sponsors. I've been very open and honest about that on every episode that we've done. There's no way that his foot will be 100% ready. It's still, I would say at this point, 80 to 90%, but he is back on the bike. He did the turn track only last week, no jumps. That way there was no, load. Yeah. Obviously, you can see what happened to Tomac. But, having partially torn ligaments and, a lot of therapy to try and get it back to where he is back on the bike. I would assume this is the plan for right now, which could change. It may change between now and the next episode, but the plan right now is to start at High Point.
Maybe. I don't know after my comment, but
we might get kicked out at that point.
No, I'm kidding. I do, trust me. High Point's a great place. I didn't mean anything by that, but when you have amateur guys, you know what I mean.
Yeah. So
everybody knows what I mean. But anyway,
so Aiden,
so High Point is your goal.
Our goal right now is to have him ready fitness-wise, riding-wise, bike, everything dialed in to start at High Point. And then the following race after High Point is Redbud. So our plan right now is High Point, Redbud. What we want to do at that point is see how he's doing. We would like to do every round after, starting from High Point. It doesn't make practical sense for us to do the California rounds, the West Coast rounds.
Right.
He is not going to be ready with his foot, and as far as getting cardio back in, it just doesn't make sense. So starting at High Point, doing the East Coast rounds of outdoors, that's more realistic right now. But I think it really kind of boils down to him. I mean, I'm not trying to put any pressure on him by any means, but I do believe that it does depend on how he's doing results wise. How does he feel? I mean, he's never raced a professional outdoor race before.
We talked about this the other day, or maybe it was yesterday, that with the lineup going into the 450s this year, it's actually a really good opportunity for a lot of guys to get really good results.
Yeah,
that don't normally get results.
Yeah,
you know, and so.
Yeah, when you take a lot, a lot of your top guys and your leaders out of those positions, then those positions are now available.
Yeah,
you know,
well, and you look at it, you know, in the nerve aspect of it, you know, for Aiden or somebody like that, you know, you're not lining up with, you know, 5 guys that you know are going to be the top guys, you know, and it's like, man, I might have a chance to get the top 10 right now, you know, and really push and see what I can do, and you know, build that confidence and keep building to.
Yeah, I think Aiden's always had great cardio, and I think for him, the more laps he puts in, the better.
Yeah,
he's one of those guys that, you know, the more he figures out the tracks and figures out the lines, the better he does.
Yeah,
you know, the short races, and you can even say some of those in Supercross, like you know, 6-minute heats and stuff like that. There's so little bit of riding time on the actual track
to get comfortable.
Get comfortable, right? And I think he's one of those guys that comfort is a big thing for him.
That was one of my brother's biggest struggles, and he'll talk about it. You know, it's one of those things he just never, you know, by the end of the night or, you know, by the LCQ, he was finally feeling good.
Yeah.
But it's too late.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's too
late. You gotta get to the point to where you come out the gate and it's sprint time.
Yep.
Right.
And you know you're about to freaking.
Yeah. But trying to do that, you know, I was very fortunate to have a great conversation with Cooper Webb. When we were at Daytona, I gave him a ride in my golf cart after the race, and you know, we went out towards his motorhome, and we just got to sit there and talk a little bit. And he talked about his very first year in Supercross, and you know, I don't know if he wants me to say it or not, but he was like, "Dude, I was a wreck." You know, he's like, "It's your very first year, you know, racing and." You know, gate drops and tracks and trying to figure out the timing, the race day schedules, and all that stuff matters, you know, and there's a lot to that. And I think, you know, Aiden this year has had some of those struggles mentally of trying to figure out, you know, track layouts, rhythms in such a short period of time. I mean, you have 2 time qualifying practices, and then you're either in or you're out.
But also a great experience too, because obviously
you got to have it.
Next year he's going to be like, okay, I've been here before.
Yeah, you got to have it. So to answer your question though, without going on too long of a tangent, Aiden's going to race 450s outdoors, starting at High Point, and the very following race is Redbud, which love that track. And
you're not taking me to Redbud, are you?
I've been to Redbud before. Unfortunately, that weekend, my daughter has a gymnastics tournament.
So I'm going to have to go for you.
Nah, I'll go. I'll be the backup rider for that one.
Yeah. So I'm not going to be able to make it there, but, you know, the boys are going.
Nice.
And then, you know, we're just kind of see how it goes. And I mean, that's the great thing about us, in my opinion. I mean, some people might not say, they'd probably disagree, but in my opinion, is it's great that we can kind of do whatever we want, you know.
100%.
I mean, we can.
You're not bound by anybody telling you what to do.
Yeah, we can race when we want to race, and we don't have to if we don't want to. And you know, right now, High Point and Redbud are the first 2 that we're planning, and then depending on how he does at those, if he's doing well, we'll do the rest of them. If he's not feeling it, or if the ankle's still bothering him, then you know, we'll go from there. But so that's the plan for him. And then as far as Caleb goes right now. He's going to try and make a run at Loretta's, which it's, you know, I'm going to say is very difficult to do because it's his first time, you know, on the Cowie and, you know, coming off of the KTM, and he's going to have to get adapted to the bike. And, you know, I want him to continue to do whatever he wants to do as far as Dade City stuff and Florida Series, and, you know, just keep being him. And, you know, I think for us, it's always fun to go to Minio's because it's a local race for us. It's right down the road. And, you know, we're planning on bringing the semi up there, and then, you know, Carson's continuing to do well and continuing his, you know, run at Loretta's, and you know, we expect him to do well because he's just the mini assassin, man. The kid is just ripping. So, you know, Carson will go good, and then Drew is back on the bike as well.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know what we can and can't say about that, but you know, Drew took a little time off after a crash, and now he's back on the bike. And again, it's kind of the same thing for him. You know, he's going to continue his run for Loretta's, and after that, after Loretta's, the next big national would be Minios.
Yep. Even if my son doesn't make it this year, I want to go just so he gets to see it.
Yeah.
He gets that experience, to where, like I tell my wife, I'm like, we can just go have a little vacation and hang out by the creek and, you know.
Well, how many years together did we do Thanksgiving at Minios?
Minios? A lot.
A lot.
And
that's one of those sacrifices as family, when you've got family members and parents and everybody that's like, hey, what are you doing this year for Thanksgiving? Like, well, I'm going to be at the track.
Like last year we went to Minios with my son, and I mean, we just went just to ride, because that was like when we were really starting to try to ride a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I mean, we didn't do any good, but we still went.
But it was experience, and you got an idea how it works.
My parents were excited because they got to go back to Minios and do Thanksgiving there again. I mean, it was like being back at home,
which they did for many years.
Many years. And then my wife, she's like, she never was around that, and then that was experience for her, and it's just that's kind of what I want the whole thing to be about, is experience and having fun as a family. And it's like, I did not expect him to make it even at the area qualifier, and we go to Diamondback and he makes it in at the area, and I was like, man, all right, maybe we might even we got to go to the regional now. And I mean, we're to the point now we're going to go try a different area also and try a different region, and so we'll see what we can do and have some fun.
You're hooked.
Oh, we're in there.
Hooked.
We're in there.
Well, good.
Now we're doing backup regions. We got spare bikes. This future MX bill just keeps getting higher and higher.
My pocket keeps getting more empty, that's for sure.
I was pretty impressed by you signing that young man yesterday. You had pictures and papers on the table. Like when I signed with you, I didn't have that production. I'm a little bit jealous.
Ours was on a McDonald's receipt napkin.
Hey, that's how I signed the contract with Chad Reed. That was at a Taco Bell.
Yeah, well, sometimes things happen. But anybody that got to see that picture, that was actually sitting right here at our podcast
it was
table.
really nice.
Yep.
And we had Caleb and his dad, and Heath was with us as well. And we just talked through it, because my biggest thing is I don't like gray areas. I want it to be open. I like communication. I try and communicate with everybody that's involved in the team and tell them what's happening, what's going on. And to be able to have him sit down, and we went through the contract line item by line item and just said, hey, this is what we're willing to offer. This is our expectation in return. And everybody was happy and jived, and it just works good.
And I talked to him the night we raced together, and I talked to him after the moto. He'd come over and we were talking a little bit, and he seems like a great dude, and
very polite, very polite, very respectful, and that's a big thing for me.
Yep.
I was talking to somebody in the industry yesterday, and when you get some of these guys, no matter their age, it doesn't matter if they're on a 65, 85, or a 250. I mean, when they're out there and they're thinking, man, I need more boots, or I need more gear, or I need more this. It's like,
handouts.
That does not work for me.
When you show up on a clapped out bike with some clapped out boots and gear and everything, and you smoke everybody, that just proves right there that you're putting in the effort, and it doesn't matter what you have.
Yeah, and the appreciation that goes in. I mean, if we all know, we've talked about it on multiple different episodes. We don't have to do any of this. I mean, we don't have, we would have a lot more toys and a lot more fun if we didn't,
more boat time.
Yeah, more boat time. And
I wouldn't have had to sell mine.
Yeah, more island time or whatever it may be. But, the thing is, we love it. We're passionate. We talked about you get hooked in this sport, and we want to try and help people. So when you get somebody that, is unappreciative, or they expect more or whatever. And, I mean, even the guy I was talking to yesterday who's, very well connected, pretty deep in the industry, and he was like, man, some of these guys, they think they're Jet and Hunter right now, and they're not even, podium on their class.
When I know I could go beat these kids that are thinking that they just need a handout, I'm like, you don't deserve it.
Yeah. And
the crazy thing, he mentioned Jet and Hunter, but those guys are pretty damn genuine at the level that they're at right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're very level-headed, and I attribute a lot of that to Dazzy, of making them that way, and I appreciate that, and I respect that. Those guys do a lot for fans, and they do a lot for their sponsors, and that's a great lesson to look at, is no matter how good you are, you got to realize this is an entertainment business at the professional level.
Yep.
And if you don't make time for the fans and you don't make time for your sponsors, then they're not going to really care for you. And you got to have those people in your corner. So, I don't want to get off too far on that tangent, but outside of that.
I like it when you do, though. It's pretty funny.
I know, because I'm very passionate about that, honestly. I'm very passionate about that and trying to make sure that people understand that, respect the people that do help you and
support them.
Yeah. And you got to, every sponsor that I've talked to throughout this year, one of the biggest things I've learned, and I've said it multiple times, is the ROI, which is a return on investment. So an ROI, if I am going out of my way to put myself through, physically, mentally, financially, the stress that I go through to try and provide and do what we're doing, there should be an ROI in return.
Right.
So that return needs to be some type of benefit towards whether it's promotion as far as results, whether it's promotion as far as social media, whether it's going out of your way to do something to bring something to the brand that matters. And, it's tough, man. With I don't want to say it's a generational thing because I'm not that far off of the generation.
Yeah, your generation sucks, RJ.
But it's I don't know.
I'm kidding, bro.
The way that I don't know. Like I said,
you have this go on the subject with old Randy Yoho.
Yeah,
he has some choice words to say about it,
but he's right.
Oh yeah, 100%. He doesn't have the best language to say on this.
Yeah,
podcast,
I hope you're getting good ROI off me.
Huge, man.
I mean, he provides me with a lot of things, and in return, I'm here talking with all you folks.
Yep.
on 28 different episodes.
28, nah, but I'm kidding. But we're friends before this podcast, so don't take it don't take it the wrong way. But
no, I think everybody.
I do agree with you. That's the name of the game nowadays. You know it. Everybody knows it. If you don't have something to bring to the table besides results on a racetrack, what good are you?
Yep.
Yeah, and again, I kind of go back to the AC thing. He's such a brand ambassador. He does so well for his sponsors. He speaks so well, and like you mentioned, he is so smart.
Yep.
And that stuff goes a long way. But anyway, we'll wrap that up as far as that topic goes. Tyler Kasha, any other questions for the crew that's here?
Come on, Tyler. Ask me something.
No further questions, especially for Shane.
Well, episode 28, I want to say a huge thank you being presented by Fox Racing and Get Data. Like I mentioned before, the guys at Fox, such unbelievable how well they took care of us when we went out there to California and how well they do for the team and what they do for our guys. The other one is Dan Truman with Get and Athena. We run the ECUs, the RPM indicators, the two lights champions, both Jet and Hunter, running the Get ECU and the RPM indicators. So anybody looking for those, make sure you reach out to them. And then
Kory's looking for one for that Cobra.
A huge thank you to Fox and Get and Athena. And I can't say thank you enough to them as many times as I could say it over. But episode 28, wrapping it up. Sugar Shane.
Yeah, great. Man, that was a good one. I appreciate having Kory on here, man, giving some insight on how he grew up and his family and how it all worked,
Well, and again, I want to say thank you to Mr. Kory Keylon for taking time out of your day. I know you guys were out at the track and coming here to come on this episode. We need to see if we can do a family-oriented one.
Definitely.
We'll get you, Kyle, Pops, Kenny. We'll bring everybody involved. We got to try and convince them to do that.
I think that would be a good one right there.
That would be a lot of fun.
Yep.
That would be a lot of fun. So we just got to try and convince them and make that happen. But thank you for everybody watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or directly on our website, futuremotocross.com. Make sure that you're subscribing to any of those platforms that you do, whether it's on any of the ones that I just mentioned, but subscribing to those platforms. Feel free to comment us, direct message. Let us know if there's something that you want to hear, questions that you want to ask, something that you want to get into on any rider. But again, thank you for everybody. That's episode 28 right there.
28.